everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we have a story time, and it's the time where I almost got kidnapped. As you can probably tell, this is another story involving coworkers that I used to work with. So this all started when I worked at this place. I'm not going to disclose where I worked, but I met two people and their names were Eddie and Lance. And so basically Eddie is the person that I worked with, and so I got to know him through work. So we would hang out outside of work, and then we were basically friends. Eddie had a friend and his name was Lance. They were best friends. I guess they were best friends since they were young, so they basically hang out all the time. Eddie's like, hey, we should hang out this day. We should go, I think we were gonna go play pool. That's where it was. And so I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'm gonna bring my best friend Lance. And I was like, yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be cool to meet him, because I always heard good things about him. And so I was at my house, then they were gonna pick me up. I got a text from Eddie and he's like, you know what, I just left my house and I'm gonna go pick up Lance. And I was like, okay. An hour passes by and I'm like, okay, maybe I just got set up, or maybe something, you know, happened. So I was like, didn't really think about it. And then 2 hours passed by and I was like, okay. So I was like, you know what, I'll text them and see if we're still gonna go do what we're gonna do, go play pool. And so after I text them, still no response. And then I called a few times. I think I called twice and no pickup. And then after I called, probably 10 minutes after that, my phone was ringing and I answered, and I'm like, it was a number I did not know. So I picked it up and I was like, hello? And there was this voice on there. It was like, Jonathan, we're coming to blank get you. The way they were saying it sounded like they were basically gonna come and like murder me or kidnap me. And I was just like, I was like a little scared, but then I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a prank. So then I basically hang up my phone. And so from that, after that happened, my friend Eddie wasn't at work for almost a week. And so I was like kind of concerned. I'm like, okay, he's missed a week from work. And I was the last person to talk to him, because my other coworkers like, oh, do you know what happened to him? And I was like, no, not really. We were supposed to hang out. And they're like, well, he hasn't been at work for a week. And they're having trouble, I guess, contacting him. So finally, after a week passed, Eddie came back to work. I noticed that he had like this huge lump that was like right here on his forehead. Like, it was really massive. It was like red. It looked like he got hit in the head. I asked him, you know, what happened? And he's like, well, I want to talk to you in private about it. Later on that day, we talked outside of work. And he's like, you know what, Jonathan, I'm gonna tell you something. And I haven't told anybody. Like, I haven't told my parents. I haven't told, you know, the cops. And then when he said the cops, I was like, okay, that's a red flag. So something must have happened. And he's like, yeah, you know the day that we were supposed to all hang out and go play pool? Lance, when I went to go pick him up, beforehand, he told me that he was gonna try acid, which is a drug. Eddie told me that he didn't want to be a part of it. So I guess Lance took it before he picked him up. And so when he went to go pick him up, he came inside his house. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what exactly happened, but this is what Eddie told me. Eddie told me that he was at his house and that all he remembers is walking in and he saw Lance, and Lance was acting really weird. Like, he could tell that he wasn't basically himself. I guess next thing you know it, Lance just goes lashing at him. And then so Eddie basically was like kind of confused of what was going on. And so what he was telling me is that I guess in his house he had like this rock that was on the mantle, like I guess like this big. That's what Eddie told me. So Lance grabbed the rock, hit him over the head, and then Eddie basically blinked out. The next thing Eddie remembers is that he was in the desert. He basically couldn't find his phone, and so his phone, I guess his phone was about, I think he was telling me it was like 50 feet away from where he was. So he was able to find his phone, and that he noticed like his head was like pounding and he didn't really know what happened to him. He was able to call somebody to pick him up. But the thing is, he had no idea where he was. Basically, he was like in the middle of the desert. He doesn't remember how long he was out there. He basically was able to use his GPS to kind of like track him down, you know, where he was. And so he had that person come pick him up. And so when he picked him up, the person that was picking him up noticed that he had this huge welt on his forehead, and he's like, well, what happened? And he was basically telling them, you know, he was at Lance's house, and then Lance just basically lashed at him, took a rock and hit him over the head with it. And so everybody was just like he was like so confused on what was going on. Basically, he was trying to call Lance the last couple days after he got picked up. He was like trying to call him, he wouldn't pick up his phone. And then finally Lance picked up. And I guess after he was on that drug, he was just basically out of his mind, kind of like he was, I guess, asleep for a couple days. I don't know exactly. Lance was telling Eddie, you know, what happened, and I guess he remembers bits and pieces. So he took my friend Eddie, after he hit him over the head, he tied him up with rope on his hands and his feet, and then took him and put him in the trunk of the car. And I was like, what, in the trunk of the car? Was he gonna go in the desert and kill you? It was just so bizarre, which, I mean, I've never taken a hardcore drug in my life. Like, I know better never to do that. I never knew that acid could make you do crazy things like that. That's why you should never do drugs, people. And so he took him to the desert. I guess he was on his way to pick up me. I am very thankful he did not come to my house, because I mean, I've really never dealt with anybody that was like on that intense of a drug. Lance told Eddie that he was on the way to my house and that he was gonna do something to me. And so thankfully, he decided not to go to my house, which I am very thankful for, because you don't know. I mean, look what he did to Eddie. Like, you don't know if he did the same thing. What if he hit me over my head? What if like I died from that? You know, there's just so many things that could have happened. After he took Eddie was in the trunk, and then I guess he basically dumped him out in the desert because he thought he was dead. And so he took his phone and I guess threw his phone, and that's why I was like 50 feet away. I don't know exactly how far it was. And then he was just like scared. So he basically, I'm surprised he could even drive home. You know what I mean? Being under the influence like that, that's pretty trippy that he could even remember where he was or what he was doing. After that happened, he went back home. That's when Eddie basically kind of, because they've been friends since childhood, he kind of just put it in the back burner, and he didn't like call the cops. He didn't like tell anybody, except he told me. I guess Lance was just like very forgiving about the whole thing, which I'm really surprised of. You know what I mean? If something happened like that to me and I was Eddie, I would never, I actually don't talk to him anymore, to both of them, just for my own personal reasons. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really trust anybody because anything can happen to you. So I just cut ties with them. Because I only worked for that company for a few years, I kind of left. I didn't really keep in contact with them. I did my own thing. And so what I took from the story is basically, you really don't know who the people are hanging out with. I mean, I almost got kidnapped. That's one thing I'll never forget, and one of the freakiest stories, besides my paranormal stories, that has happened to me. I hope this never happens to anybody that I know. I mean, just be very careful of people you hang out with, because I mean, you really don't know them or the people they're with. But yeah, that happened to me, and it's a story that will stick with me forever. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.